What'd you say?
Talk about George, dog.
Oh, George. I thought you said Georgia. I was like, bro.
Yeah, talk about Georgia.
Talk about Georgia. Well, I'm gonna, cuz not in a way that I like, but hey, everybody, and welcome into another fantastic episode of the Three Man Blitz. We would like to welcome you to our new time on Thursday nights at 7. We're a couple minutes late. This episode kind of took a little more prep than usual, but it's going to be a fun one. What's up, Queasy?
I'm like looking at myself live on Twitter. You know, that's crazy.
All right, boys. So before we go ahead and crack open a cold one and do our thing, I would like to thank George Wilson and his crew down at Southern Payroll and Benefits, where your business is more than a number. Let's not forget our sponsor, man. Let's not forget our sponsor.
What's up,
all right,
George?
guys? Yep. What's up, George? So everybody, let's crack them and down the hatch. Crack them. Pour the shot. Whatever you do, do it. I see you pouring, Queasy.
I'm beering it today, boys.
Release the Kraken.
It's beer 30.
And pizza 30.
You beering it today?
Yeah, I got a beer today.
Somebody didn't get their bonus check.
I got it. Well, I'm going to get it.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and share this in a couple of places real quick, guys. Jeremy, why don't you kind of go ahead and intro what we're going to be talking about today?
Do it. Okay, so the episode today is going to be the top 10 national championship games in our opinion.
Oh.
So really the 10 that meant the most to us or the ones we enjoyed the most or we thought held the most significance. So a lot of good ones. I haven't seen the other two guys. I haven't seen Queasy or Andrews. My phone's trying to talk to me. List, but I highly doubt that we're going to have like the 1907 Stanford versus Yale or.
Yeah.
God dang! I knew I shouldn't have said it.
He's like, bruh. Yeah, I did not go super far back myself. I set myself a limitation to the beginning of the BCS era. The year was 1998. So
that's a good year. That's a good year right there, Tennessee fans.
That's a good year for Tennessee fans. The last good
year.
Yeah,
that's the year that Peyton Manning took them. No.
Nope.
No.
I may try not to curse while we're live on here, but I will say it in my mind.
I'm just saying. That's the year Eli Manning and Ole Miss. No,
I didn't do nothing.
How
we'll get to it.
I was gonna say about that team, but 1998. That's still
pretty relevant.
Relevant, but yeah, honestly, that's still there was
still ways back.
About a good 10 years after that, before that, I should say, there was some good games before then too.
Mm-hmm. There in the 90s, man, you had Miami was good, Michigan was good, Nebraska had like
in the early 2000s,
really good teams.
Really good.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, I'm glad you mentioned that too. But yeah, around that late 90s, late 80s, excuse me, early 90s. I mean, yeah, Miami was pretty dominant.
All right, guys. Well, if y'all don't care, I'm going to go ahead and kick off with my number 10, and we'll just work our way across the board here. At number 10, I've got the 2008 National Championship, I think, or was it the 2006? The Florida Gators 2008 BCS National Championship game over Oklahoma. It was a 24-14 game. Both teams were just mentally, physically tough. Of course, this game featured on my list, the greatest college quarterback of the last 20 years, possibly of all time, Tim Tebow. They had a record crowd of 78,000 there at Dolphin Stadium, and it was just a fantastic game. And Florida ended up pulling it out. I really didn't want to put the Gators on my list just because the Gators, but they had to slide on there with this win. Fantastic game.
And if you remember, that's the year that Tim Tebow had like his monumental speech. They lost to Ole Miss. Talking about Ole Miss, please.
Yeah.
They lost to Ole Miss by like a couple points, and he had that real emotional that conference afterwards, and was kind of got a little emotional, saying that he felt really bad. He wanted to be undefeated, and he promised that he would
never lose again.
Never lose again, and nobody in college football would try harder than him to get that done, and they did it. So
they did
I
it.
remember that.
But it's still like a boo for Florida, so whatever. My number 10 was the 2000. I guess it was technically the game was in 2001, so it's going to be weird with our years, I'm sure.
It
the way
is.
that they're listed. Yeah, so
I'm naming them off as the season.
Yeah,
so it's weird.
and with the way I've got them listed is like I'm pretty sure it's when they occurred. So it's 2001 Miami versus Nebraska, but I'm pretty sure it's the 2000 season. But so the Miami Hurricanes, they won against Nebraska 37-14. So the game wasn't as close as some of these other matchups, but I felt like I should put it on here because I watched it, obviously, and I'm not super old, and the game really, I mean, you know what I mean. The game captivated me. And that Miami team's widely regarded as like the best college football team of all time. They had 17 players from that team get drafted in the first round. I mean, they were dominant. They had the number 3 offense, the number 1 defense. So it was a great game.
And unfortunately, mine was the same as Andrew. With
Unfortunately. Agreed. Unfortunately.
Tebow was very dominant for numerous years. So it was a great game. Yes.
It was. All right, then we'll cut it short on that one. I'm moving on.
Yes.
You don't want to keep hearing about Florida.
Exactly.
Next, I've got the 2003 Fiesta Bowl. And this game was fantastic. Speaking of the Miami Hurricanes, it's a game that went into double overtime, Ohio State versus Miami, where Ohio State managed to pull out a monumental win, 31-24. The second quarter of the game, Ohio State, they slammed out 14 points and got ahead by a touchdown. But, man, it was just like a big back and forth. No team really ever scoring more than 7 points in a quarter from that point out. And the game finally ended in double overtime with Ohio State finally overtaking a very powerful Miami team.
I actually don't even have this game on my list, which is kind of shocking. But when you go back as far as we're going, it's kind of, you're going to knock out some of these big-time games.
Yeah.
That was a really good game. I actually bumped that one for my number 10, just to name that particular year on the team. It was a good one, though. My number 9 is like it was y'all's number 10, that Florida game versus Oklahoma. So, again, not to beat a dead horse, Florida.
No, I was just like, let's not talk about Florida anymore. Jeremy's like, yeah, but Florida, number 9.
That too is on my list.
You did, bud. It's okay. I forgive you.
We need to look into that, like beating a dead horse. We need to figure out where that comes from.
Where does that saying come from?
Exactly.
Who was out there beating that horse? You know that horse was dead. Man, I hate that horse. I'm sure it's a very old saying.
Yeah, and it probably doesn't mean what we think it means, but
it may not.
Yeah,
but it may.
Oh, nasty.
Go ahead, Quizzy.
Number 9, I got Miami against Penn State back in 1987. This is a high-powered Miami team, which it was basically an NFL team because a lot of these guys went to the NFL, and Penn State whooped them basically by creating 7 turnovers. That's back when Vinny Testaverde was playing.
7 turnovers.
That's insane.
That's crazy.
They whooped them. They whooped them good.
Whooped them good.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
All right, number 8. Jeremy's going to appreciate this. I'm going to fast forward 1 year here, and on the 1998 season, the year was actually 1999 when the game took place, was Fiesta Bowl, Tennessee versus Florida State. It was a 23-16 game. Florida State ended the season 11-2. And this ended a title drought for Tennessee. They came in there, they got business done, and crazy enough, this was actually just 1 year after the departure of Peyton Manning. A lot of people want to give him credit for leading the greatest ever Tennessee team, blah, 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 this and that. No, he was gone, and they got it done.
They had a lot of good teams with Peyton, but, yeah, that T. Martin team it was just a special group of dudes, man. You know, it was one of those where it's not like nobody even now don't give T. Martin credit, you know, but he's the one that did it. There was a lot of close games. It's not like that Tennessee team was the greatest of all time, because they weren't, but they got it done when it counted, and they had a lot of help along the way. That Arkansas game in particular comes to mind, where we should have lost that game. They had that game in the bag, and they fumbled to give us the ball back, and we went on and scored. And there's a lot of great players on that team, a lot of good memories. Unfortunately, I haven't had many since. Whatever.
Told you I wasn't going to say a whole lot on that one, but
there's not a whole lot to say. All right, my number 8 is the 2016 Clemson versus Alabama game. So this was the game where Clemson was victorious over the big bad Bama. And it was the game. It was an awesome game, first of all. But what I really hated and loved was the fact that everybody was taking Alabama to win that game. All the experts were taking Alabama, and Clemson came in there and took care of business. And it was a close game. It was a good one. Anytime Alabama gets denied a national championship is a good game.
Jeremy's like, you know what? I'm about to reorder my list. This is number 1.
Yeah, it's not, but it's high on the list. It was a good game. I'm 35-31. It went back and forth. There weren't no slapses.
Is it my turn?
It's your turn, baby. Number 8.
My national championship. You hear what I said?
Yours.
It's a Michigan championship. Sing it.
1991.
We going back now.
Michigan against Ohio State. What the heck is that?
My wife's calling me.
That's not Hail to the Victor. Michigan against Ohio State. This is a great game where Michigan beat Ohio State, and Desmond Howard, of course, did his famous Heisman Trophy pose.
And they called you back. I love you.
Love you, Boo Boo Bear.
Bye.
Love you, baby. Bye, baby.
Can we get focused here?
Queasy over here trying to talk about Michigan. You're like, hey, Gary, what are you doing?
I'm sorry. I was trying to keep it down.
No, you hang up. No, you hang up.
No, you. No, screw them guys. I'll talk to you, baby.
1991, man. Michigan against Ohio State.
Yep.
Michigan wins, of course. The iconic Heisman Trophy pose.
He's got to go through it again for you, Jeremy.
Yes.
He already said it all once, but
exactly. But it got washed out by.
I love you, baby.
I'm glad that everybody got that.
That's my national championship. Yes.
Can I ask Andrew a question? Andrew, how old were you when that happened?
I wasn't. I wasn't. Don't ask me when Georgia's last national championship was, though.
That was
before that.
1991.
It was 80.
I think I was 35.
35?
But it's like, bro, you old as dirt. Moving on, number 7. So this one's interesting, and not for the reason you may think. This was the 2010 Cam Newton Auburn versus Oregon
That's a good
game.
one.
It was a good one, and the game actually came down to what most people would believe is a blown call. The game was tied 19-19 with 2 minutes left in the game. Cam Newton and the Tigers had the ball in their own 40. Dyer took a handoff to the right and was met by linebacker Eddie Pleasant. He took him down a few yards downfield, but the whistle was not blown. Like, all the players got up, everybody was kind of moving on, doing their own thing, like the play was over, and he just got up and kept running and got a 37-yard gain on the play. Crazy.
Yeah. And a lot of people kind of tend to forget that it's these games, these big-time games, where things like that happened before we had – a real good replay.
It was 2010, man.
It wasn't great. You look at it now; it's still not great. I'm just saying that even. I mean, that's not that long ago, but
like
great.
Dude's laying on the ground, and everybody's just like, "You gonna run? What are you doing?"
And the way they officiate games has been changed greatly because of crappy calls, crappy no calls,
Yeah.
All right, what number are we on?
7.
Number 7. I have
we on them 6.
No, cuz. I've got 2013 Florida State versus the Auburn Tigers. 34-31, Florida State with the natty there with Jameis Winston, old famous Jameis. He became the second freshman ever to win the Heisman, greatly in part because of that offense that they were leading that year. And if you go back and watch that game, it's one that did not disappoint with Auburn. It was a really good one. I got it at number 7 on my list. It was awesome, actually. It was a very close game. It was. I'm sorry. I'm really got to get at this pizza now.
What you got, Queasy?
I got the Auburn phenom. Who's big Auburn players? Basketball is going to be Charles Barkley.
Cam. He's like the biggest Auburn player.
Cam, yeah.
Yeah. I got him that game.
Same one.
I'm trying to think if there's been any bigger player that's with Auburn. But yeah.
We on that page today.
Auburn took Cam took him all the way, man, and put him on his shoulders and showed the whole world.
Queasy says he put him on his big, broad, muscular shoulder. Queasy got a thing for Cam.
Hello,
muscular shoulders.
I heard
chiseled hands.
Hey man, I heard he had some laptops.
No, wrong school. He was at Florida for that. All right. Number 6, and some of you may hate me for putting this on here. I kind of hated myself for putting it on here, especially as high as I did. But it's the 2019 LSU versus Clemson national championship game. Now, I put this on here because of just how absolutely insanely good this LSU team was, how they kind of changed the face of college football with this absolute beatdown of a national championship game. And Joe Burrow looked like a freaking football god out there, just laying the ball up where he pleased, when he wanted. Clemson couldn't do anything.
And I'm going to say that's my pick too, but go ahead.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
But I don't know why you'd be sorry to have it on the list. It's on my list.
Man, because it was a beatdown. The rest of my games are pretty close games. They were overtime games and back and forth games. But this one, man, it just it changed the landscape of college football so much that I felt like it needed to be on there.
And I'm really going blank, but is this the team that had Thaddeus Moss on there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I'm talking about
Thaddeus
to
Moss.
me, he looks very good.
Jamar Chase.
And I'm only saying that because now Thaddeus Moss is at a point where he was looking for a team. He went to the Redskins. They ended up cutting him. He didn't even get drafted. So it's kind of like, was one making the other look good or vice versa?
It's probably Burrow making him look good.
Yeah, and
he just got picked up by the Bengals though. With Burrow.
That field was spread so thin trying to cover all those receivers, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
He had a lot.
I'm not saying he's not a great tight end because he looked really good.
He did.
It's a different game in the NFL, boys. He might not be able to put in the work. Anyway,
you got Jerry Bear.
Yep. So my number 6 was the one I think Queasy was talking about. It's the Cam game against Oregon, and that was such a good game. Auburn.
It was.
22-19, by the way.
Yeah.
22-19.
It was.
It went the distance. I mean, that's one of those like you were talking about. It was super close.
Yeah, bad call, ended it with a field goal. I mean, it's pretty tight.
And you hate to see stuff like that, but whatever. Auburn fans didn't care.
Oh, I'm sure. Moving on to number 5. I've got, and I think Jeremy already hit some on this game, so I'm going to make it short and sweet. The Florida State Seminoles versus the Auburn Tigers. This was the final BCS National Championship game. I believe the year was 2016. Jameis Winston was absolutely dominating all season. It was a rally back from Florida State in the fourth quarter to win the game, and it was just a field goal. They won the game by 34-31. Still one of the better national championships in my memory. In recent memory, I feel like this game could potentially make a top 10 all-time list, not just like more recent games. It was a fantastic game.
Yeah, Jameis Winston. I think don't quote me, but I think at the end of that game he celebrated with some crab legs or something like
that. Celebrated with something.
He was definitely celebrating with a lot of food. All right. So my number 5 game was one that Andrew's already touched on, but I'm definitely going to talk about it a little bit more. The year's 1998. And the Tennessee Volunteers take down Florida State.
Florida State's getting talked about a lot, but they're not winning a lot of these games we're talking about.
No, this is like just after their time, man. They had old T. Martin at quarterback at that game.
That's right, old T. Martin.
Yeah,
he went on to be a decent coach. He was coaching for Tennessee not that long ago, and then left.
Yeah, we're actually rooting for him. I was living in North Carolina then.
Oh, really?
I remember that game. That was a good team.
He said I was 35.
Number 5. Were you done? I'm sorry. Were you done?
Yes, I'm done.
With your Tennessee team?
Yeah, you know.
Number 5, I have in 2016. I have Bama defeating Clemson, the Clemson Tigers. That is when your man Kenyon Drake, who can't do anything in the NFL right now, ran a 95-yard kickoff return or TD.
That was January 2016, man. And Clemson and Bama went back and forth for like years, man.
Yeah,
years there.
Yes,
there's a few of those games we could talk about on here, and I've got one to hit here in a minute. I think Jeremy might have already touched on, but
yeah,
it was a good game.
4.
Number 4.
It was January 7th, 2010. Coming off the 2009 season, the number 1 Alabama Crimson Tide defeated the number 2 Texas Longhorns 37-21 in a statement game where Nick Saban had his coming out party with the Tide, man. And college football hasn't been the same ever since. Alabama has
damn Tide.
Pretty much, man. They have been on a tirade since then. It was their first title since 1992, and they've won like freaking 100 of them since. Nick Saban hasn't showed any sign of letting off the gas yet, and the reason, like I said, this one made the list is just because how much this one game has just changed college football moving forward from 2010. It was just what we've seen out of this Alabama program is just, and Nick Saban himself is just absolutely insane. And he did this one. He won this one. His recruiting wasn't like super crazy back then. You know, he wasn't landing 5-star after 5-star. He had a bunch of 3, 2, 3, 4-star average Joe guys over here, and he just made it work and made it happen. And it was extremely impressive. A whole lot of running.
Yeah, they were definitely a run heavy and great defense. They were like, that was Alabama's calling card forever. You know, now it's more fancy offense, and their defensive secondary kind of looks like garbage. But back then, it was the opposite. Run heavy,
smash mouth, SEC
big football. Defense. That's right. My number 4 game is one you touched on. It's when LSU defeated Clemson. So I've got it as high as 4.
I feel like trash for having it this time.
Have it at all. I still don't understand why you were feeling bad about having it. I mean, it was a majestic run, LSU. I mean, you know, they were always a good team. You know, they went through some spurts, but I mean, Joe Burrow, man, that whole year was just amazing. And I mean, how can you hate on that one?
This is going to be one of these teams and one of these seasons, one of these games that we talk about for like the next 30 years.
For sure. It was great. And what he did that year, I mean, you remember afterwards, people were touting it as the best team ever, just like they did with Miami in the early 2000s. So,
yeah.
Hey, it was a one-year deal. And they looked fantastic.
They did.
And Clemson also, you know, they were looking very good, as they still are. But Queasy, number 4.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Sure.
What I got for number 4 is another Alabama Clemson game. Seemed like they had like 8 or 9 games against each other.
Pretty much.
Alabama Clemson back in 2017. This is actually when your man Deshaun Watson got a fresh massage and was battling against Jalen Hurts.
Yep. And for number 3, I have that same freaking game, January 9th, 2017. Deshaun, hold on, let me do a Queasy impression. Deshaun Watson carried this Clemson team on his broad, chiseled shoulders, freshly massaged.
Freshly massaged.
This is the year. This is the year that Deshaun Watson should have won the Heisman. It ended up going to Lamar Jackson, but it is what it is. They got down 14-0 in pretty early in the game by the second quarter, and Deshaun Watson kind of made a comeback. In the fourth quarter, man, they scored 21 points to bring the total to 35-31. It was a crazy, roaring, come-from-behind victory, and I know this was another one with a controversial call, a PI call, I think, that ended up giving Clemson the final touchdown. But, it is what it is. Fantastic game, fantastic team. Great quarterback.
Jalen Hurts was definitely overshadowed, but Jalen Hurts has definitely shown all the things that he can do with that team on another one.
Yeah, that game featured 2 now starting NFL quarterbacks. Great game.
On the same team. My number 3 is Ohio State versus Oregon. And I know you're not going to like this, Queasy, because it's Ohio State, but so this Ohio State team, it didn't even look like they were going to make the playoffs. Their starting quarterback and Braxton Miller, he got hurt. It was. I think it's very impressive, and I think it was a good one.
This one was the very first college football playoff.
Yes.
Right?
They slid in. Braxton Miller got hurt before the season really started. And JT Barrett, their second string, led them, looked great. He got hurt against your Wolverines. Yep.
Exactly.
Then in comes Cardell Jones and takes them on to some victory. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cardell Jones. They slide in. Hey, man, they took care of business.
Third string quarterback.
I will say
their third string quarterback.
This is the last team.
And won.
This is the last team. The year was 2015, right?
Yeah.
It was 2016. Like the game took place in 2016. But this was the last team I can think of. I guess that would be over the last 6 or 7 years to win the game, win the national championship with a no-name quarterback.
Yeah.
Everybody since then has had a big name, big arm, dual threat, whatever type of quarterback. There's not, and if you try to think of one before then, even you'd have to go back a ways.
No doubt. And I'm pretty sure that in that first game they had to beat Alabama to get to the national championship game, and then they had to beat
Oregon
and did it. So it was very impressive with a third
string quarterback.
Third string.
TCU should have been in that championship. I always say that.
I still say that if they go back and look at the whole body of work, it should be 8 teams. I'm just saying.
That's another topic for another day.
Yes. All right. What number we at?
2, 3.
Wait, three.
Is it my third?
You're on 3.
My third is Miami versus Nebraska.
What year?
Hey, this is the one you hit on earlier, Jeremy. That's
my number 10.
Back in 1920.
I was 35, says Squeezy.
31-30. Upset. Miami upset Nebraska, and Nebraska was like dominating that year. They were like 10-point favorites that game.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
A 10-point favorite.
All right, on to you, Drew for 2. Drew for 2.
All right,
Drew for 2.
I need a minute for this one.
I'm gonna go ahead and say, because I know that you've not said anything about this game or the other game, I bet that your 2 and my number 1 are the exact same game. Which you shouldn't be weirdo.
I just need a minute. I need silence.
Good luck, buddy. Have fun talking about this game. Well,
I bet you y'all number 2 is not my number 2. How about that?
Number 2.
It's not.
It was January 8th, 2018.
Uh-huh.
The Georgia Bulldogs The Georgia Bulldogs were ahead in Atlanta, Georgia, against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Darth Saban,
Welcome to Atlanta.
Kirby Skywalker, and his Jedi Knights had taken the lead against Darth Saban and his his Imperial Army. Georgia ended up losing the game when backup Tua Tagovailoa, now starter for the Miami Dolphins, came in relief of Jalen Hurts, who could not get it done. Alabama was scoreless at halftime. They came back and scored 20 points by the fourth quarter, tying the game up, making it a 20-20 game. And then Tua Tagovailoa threw the walk-off touchdown to now current Heisman winner Devonta Smith in overtime for the victory. And it still hurts to this day. I yelled at my wife that night when I went to bed. I threw things. I didn't want to come to work the next morning. This was like, if I had a list of like the top 3 worst days of my life, this would be like 2 or 3. It's up there.
It would be like
it was a fantastic game. Great defense.
Really
offense was just like chugging through on both sides. I mean, Tua came out in relief of Jalen Hurts and looked like God's gift to football. I mean, it was a fantastic game. But as a Georgia fan, dude, it still to this day hurts so bad.
It's gonna sting forever. I'm sure. It really was a fantastic game, and it's almost fake. You know, it's like it's not really even real. The fact that you sit your starting quarterback and you bring in the freshman. And nobody can even pronounce his name. The announcers can't pronounce his last name.
Calling him Tua.
They didn't even try. Tua.
And the play before he threw the walk-off touchdown to Devonta Smith, he took a 16-yard sack, dude. I was up. I was jumping around. I was screaming. I was barking like I do. Y'all know me. Y'all know when I get wild. That defense was after. They were after him, and he just says, "Oh, look."
I've only heard you bark once, Andrew, and it was embarrassing for everyone.
That's a lie. You know it's a lie. Okay, Jeremy, number 2, my friend.
It's my number 2. It's shit.
It hurts so bad.
It was a great game.
So bad.
It hurt for everybody. Nobody wanted Alabama to win that game, except for your wife.
Thanks. Yeah, I know. I didn't speak to her. I yelled and I went to bed. Queasy, number 2, my friend.
Number 2, I have Ohio State and Miami.
Oh, this is what I was talking about earlier. That was a great game, though.
Yeah. Ohio State won. Ohio State won, beating Miami. Beating them. Miami had a 34-game win streak. Definitely controversial. A pass interference call. Players was on the field. It was a nuts game. And Maurice Clarett, someone who gets underrated for top college players, had a game-winning touchdown.
Hey, he was amazing.
He was more than
I thought he was going to be amazing in pros, but not so much.
I feel like we all have the same number 1, so don't say it. But I feel like we should all say it at the same time.
Yeah, we should say it at the same time.
Same time. I feel like you know, Queasy, we got the same number 1. You were 35 when this game happened.
You ready?
Okay.
We're doing the year?
The year and then what game it was, which bowl it happened to be. Can you do that? You guys got that?
I don't have the bowl.
Okay. The year and then the 2 team names.
Okay.
All right.
I'm so anxious right now.
1, 2, 3. 2006
Texas versus USC.
It's just Alabama.
Shut up, Queasy. You do not have a different game.
No. What's your number 1, Queasy?
Queasy, go now.
What?
What's your number 1 game, Queasy?
What's your number
Don't
1?
Play with me. Don't play with me, Queasy. What is it?
Oh,
what
man.
Is it?
It's you know.
Conform.
Penn State versus Stanford.
Shut up.
1807.
He was 35.
Hey, my man been 35 for a long time.
Texas versus USC, man. Great game.
Yes.
I mean,
final score 41-38. The Longhorns overtook the almighty USC Trojans. freaking Vince Young, man. Vince Young was Superman in this game. And it was so back and forth. Like, this was the game that like super inspired me to be into college football, which started my obsession with NFL football. I mean, like, this game started this podcast for me. Like, it goes back that far. This game was super influential to me in my youngin' days. This was it. This was the game.
Hey, I still remember it. Even after the game was over, I was like, "This is the greatest college football game ever."
It pretty much was.
I mean, you had Reggie Bush in there, who was. I feel like people just forget how electrifying Reggie Bush was in college football.
Yeah.
And of course, Vince Young, man, Matt Leinart, but Vince Young sprawling in there in the end zone to win last seconds. Yeah. It was a perfect game. It was back and forth.
USC's third championship. It would have been USC's third championship. Yeah. That game. And of course, they had a somewhat stacked team as we would see Alabama now. Yep. And so for Texas to come in there and slap them in the face, and that iconic run for the touchdown. I mean, that's the best way to solidify it, that he did run it himself, and get that game winner.
Oh yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, college football is a lot different now than it was back in the 2005 season. So this was like a super high scoring game back then, especially for a national championship game. There was so much offense. I mean, I loved this game.
Yeah. Not enough can be said about the game. Like, it really is. And I'm telling people about this at work, and I'm discussing it with friends and whatever. It's the game that always gets brought up, so it's not just us. I would be interested to see older people, people that are like vastly different, that lived and watched a lot of these other games, where they would rank it. Yeah. But just about everybody I speak with that's a football guy or football girl, like, they're always putting this game, consensus one, as one of the best ones they've ever seen, if not the best. So
definitely some great games out there. If you ever watched that Miami documentary, it's some awesome.
So good. Was it a 30 for 30? Was it a 30 for 30, Queasy?
Yeah.
I think it was. Yeah,
exactly.
So good. Those 30 for 30s are great, but the one they did with Miami is awesome.
So good. Which incorporated the Ohio State, Maurice Clarett kind of stuff. I mean, it was just so many things that went on during that time. Those were some great games.
Jesus.
All right, guys. Well, we would like to know what your list is. But as always, thanks for joining us. We're going to have some more fantastic content coming at you next week. Make sure you join into our NFL draft contest, our ultimate draft competition, sponsored by the 3-Man Blitz. And, of course, our sponsor, Southern Payroll and Benefits, George Wilson and his squad down there throwing in some cool prizes. We've got a nice cash prize. We've got a 3-Man Blitz what do we call it? Swag bag.
Swag bag.
Swag bag.
Get your swag bag now.
Who came up with
Why do I get a feeling we didn't vote on that?
You don't get a swag bag.
That was an Andrew thing. He said it. I was like, yeah, whatever.
No,
I'm sorry. Just love the name. Love the name.
We're gonna call it the swag bag. I mean, he had such a sparkle in his eye, Queasy. I said, yeah, call it.
He had to let me. I was like a kid on Christmas.
The good thing is, you're gonna get swag if you win. Swag. Good stuff. It's stuff.
Let's go with that.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. And as always, give 3.
Go for 3.
Go for it, baby.